let's get this going here. I'm not waiting around anymore. So, we always have so many authors that come to the conference, and so it's always fun to kind of highlight the people that are out there putting in the research and writing the books and putting their creativity into it. So it's always fun to highlight some of those people. And I think what we have up here is a good mix of fiction and nonfiction books, and which is cool to have a good mix of different styles of writing. And so I hope you guys, if there's any aspiring authors out there, take heed to what they're saying and ask questions, and I'll kind of get the conversation going. But if you guys could briefly introduce yourselves, and I guarantee it's going to be faster than the psychic panel. Sorry, I just keep doing that. Just briefly introduce yourself, and what do you most write in? What kind of style? Fiction, nonfiction? What do you like the most? And just for fun, your favorite author.
Hi everyone, I'm Brianna Malatke. I am the chapter head of the Horror Writers Association's Seattle chapter. So if you are an aspiring author and have questions, come see us at the end. My main focus is in horror, more specifically short form, so poetry, flash fiction, short stories. I have over 90 publications out there in the world. Favorite author? I will read anything by J.R. Ward. She's one of my go-to kind of paranormal authors, completely fiction, but yeah.
My name is Tamara Selman. I'm a local author here. I'm also a member of the HWA and on the board for the Cascade Writers Workshop. And we're doing a thing coming up here in a couple of weeks for the Seattle Public Library, so it's really exciting. It's talking about horror. I write all kinds of things. I'm a lifelong writer. I'm a retired nonfiction writer, but currently I'm writing fiction, short form, long form. I also write poetry, and it all leans right into dark subject matter, so maybe doesn't always fall into horror, but it's definitely unsettling. And my favorite authors, so many, but the one that got me started was Ray Bradbury.
Hi, I'm Karen Frazier. I am a nonfiction author, and I also work in the publishing industry. The dying publishing industry, thanks to AI, by the way. And so I write woo-woo nonfiction. By that I mean I've written a lot of books about crystals and energy healing and that type of thing, which I also teach and travel and teach. And I also write cookbooks for people on special diets. So I have celiac disease and I have a dairy allergy. And so I got real good at creating recipes for people who can't eat anything so that it still tastes good, not like cardboard, really important. And my favorite author, I mean, it's really hard to say. I'd love to say something super esoteric like Edgar Allan Poe, but really right now it's probably Jodi Picoult.
My name is Brian Blackwood, and with my partner Michelle Morningstar, we own and operate Unquiet Tomb Press. I lean into the what we're calling dark fiction, which is a lot like gothic horror, but not so much in the horror. I have a background in writing since I was very, very little, but I spent a significant time out in Hollywood writing for some movies you may have seen in 2011 on that. I can't really comment on the names. But my specialization is anything that is dark, gritty, or long form. And my favorite author, I'm gonna go pretty on the nose and say Stephen King.
Yeah, it's a good call.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm William Becker, and I consider myself a nonfiction author, considering though that metaphysics is considered fiction by some people. You can choose to think what you will, and basically a focus of metaphysics at historic locations or locations that have a history that interests me. Favorite author, the one that popped to mind first was Herman Hesse, Howard Zinn's another one. John Dixon Carr for a good locked room mystery.
My name is Michael White. I've written a lot of technical publications before I got released. Before I retired from the military. But then I started picking up and writing a lot of different books about paranormal investigating, then various cookbooks, including vegan cookbooks, and paranormal thriller. And I think I'm going to specialize in the paranormal thriller horror stories because I've got plenty of them in my head. And as far as a favorite author, I'd say Tracy Shearer, but she's not here. But she does have some books left over there. Or she will be back later.
Very good. Checks in the mail, Michael. Thank you guys for all being here today. So one thing when I think of authors and the writing, what all goes into it, I do tours up here, and so I always come back to the storytelling. Can you tell us what's the most important thing to you about storytelling in our society? Like what is it about that really, I guess let me reframe that. What draws you to writing as far as storytelling goes? Why do you want to do it?
I really don't have anything. I mean, because my interests are so wide and varied. Really is pick and pick.
Yeah, thanks for a stumper at the beginning.
Way to go, Pete.
Yeah. You know, I'm one of these weird people that liked writing term papers and doing the research for it in card catalogs at the university library and that kind of thing. And so for me, I think it's just the telling of the story and what I get out of all of that. And if other people get something out of it too, that's fantastic. But I think so much of it is for me and my own research.
I love telling a story that excites me. Because I feel that if I'm excited telling the story, no matter how long it takes to get to the end, it might excite you too. And that is a symbiotic friendship that we have between the two of us. Me as an author, you as a reader. And that will funnel into the next thing that you do and the next thing that you do. It just builds and builds and builds. And the momentum is what I enjoy.
That's a great answer.
That is a really good one. Did you want to say same? Yeah, there you go.
That was a good answer. I have two answers. One, I like food, and that's why I write cookbooks. And then I guess with the woo-woo stuff, for me, it's about spreading energy and sharing energy with people. And I really believe that if I have people come up to me all the time and say, I love your books. And my response is always, oh, you're the one. And so if I write something that touches one person, then I wrote that for that person, and I truly believe that.
I love that. Yeah, having just one reader that
Just one.
responds, that will fuel us for a whole year. Seriously.
Yeah.
Mine is kind of twofold. I can't not tell stories. I was born to tell stories. At age 4, they put me into preschool when no one was doing that. This was 55 years ago. People did not put kids in preschool unless they were rich. But I was already reading and writing, and at one moment in those first days in school, I learned that it came to me as a download. I guess people talk about downloads, you know what I mean. It was like, this is what you're gonna do for the rest of your life, and this is what you're gonna do to make the world a better place. And so I've done it as a journalist, I've done it as a columnist, I've done it as an education writer, and now I'm doing it through the creative arts. And to me, storytelling is truth-telling, basically. There's some author that said good writing is clear thinking, and I say good writing is clear thinking and deep emotion. And if we can tap into both that, the heart and the mind, that's the best story of all. And I always aim to do that, and when I do succeed and get that feedback from a writer or a reader who says, oh, you really moved me, yes, that's success.
So many good answers. For me, storytelling and writing in itself is really cathartic, especially writing horror and everything, and kind of writing out nightmares you've had, or, you know, hearing different ghost stories and then coming up with your own. And so I really just love getting those ideas out, whether or not someone else will ever read them. It's just really nice.
Great answers, you guys. You passed. Okay.
We're allowed to stay. Except maybe
Okay.
Michael.
Hopefully an easier question here. Whether you're writing fiction or nonfiction or technical materials, I imagine at some point you run into being blocked, right? Or never? Okay, well, you don't get to answer this question then. Okay. How do you get around that? Even if you're writing nonfiction, is it a matter of, you've just done too much research and you're kind of burned out on it? Do you take a break? When you're writing creatively and you're writing fiction, when you run into that inevitable block, because we're human, like, what's been your way to kind of get around that?
Yeah, so I have ADHD, and so I always have at least like 5 projects that I'm working on, and so whenever I get stuck on one, I hop to another. And I also write within romance as well as horror, so if I ever get blocked in horror and I need a palette cleanser, I just hop over to one of my other projects.
Ditto on the ADHD. There's always something I'm working on. I don't get blocked because I've been writing since I was 4. I've been writing stories since I was 4. So to me, writing is breathing. So, do we get blocked when we breathe? Well, maybe if we're choking on something, but but I do hop from project to project as well. I actually have a really active dream life, and so I'm always getting something to write about. So if anything, I have the opposite of block. It's like I have too many ideas and just not enough time.
Same. So for me, like I mentioned, I work in the publishing industry. I often work with young writers in the publishing industry who are getting into it, and they do get blocked, and they do struggle with deadlines and all of those things. And if any of you want to be writers, I will give you the same advice I give them, and that is sit down and write. The block is not real. It's an illusion. It's your mind. It's fear playing games with you. Sit down and write. Even if you write the same word over and over and over, write the same word over and over and over again until you're unstuck, and then keep writing.
So I'm gonna give you a little bit of insider knowledge on what it's like in a writer's room in, deep dank Hollywood. There's 2 techniques that you can use when you find yourself like at a stopping point and you can't continue further. And when your job is to write for 8 to 10 hours a day and you've got to put words on paper, these are the 2 tricks that you would use. The first one's called 100 lines. Whatever the last concept it was that you got stuck on, whether it's literally the sentence of Mark walked down the street and you don't know how to follow that, or if it's just the vague concept of whatever it is that you're trying to work on, write out on a different piece of paper or on a spreadsheet or something your first line of how you want that to end, no matter how crappy it is. Do it again, change it a little bit. Do it again, change it a little bit. And the idea is that by the time you get around to 25 or 30, you're coming up with some crazy ideas. John walked down the street and a vortex opened and he fell into it. John walked down the street and an alien jumped out of the ground. It doesn't matter, you just keep doing it. And by the time you get to line 100, you probably sparked a new idea that you didn't have before when you went in with this character arc or this concept, and you just follow that one out. And the second one, which is not, it's kind of like along the lines of the ADHD thing, which I think if you're a writer, you have that. That's a prerequisite. And that is starting something new or getting on something else and doing that for a minute or 2, and then getting back on what you were primarily working on. The trap in that, though, is getting too caught up in the new thing, and then the new thing, and then the new thing. So never finishing the old thing. So you have to have some discipline to be like, I'm only going to do this for 20 minutes as an exercise to refresh my brain or relax my brain, and then get back into it again. And we call that one the shuffle. And so if you ever need to take a shuffle break, I'm taking an hour to write a short story that has absolutely nothing to do with anything. And, 2 or 3 shuffle sessions later, you might actually have a new story that you integrate in what you're doing. So baseline is keep at it. Just keep at it.
I think my biggest weakness with it, because I love to write, but I'm very slow at getting started taking piles of information and hours of video notes and pictures and starting to put it all together into the book. And I tend to have I think I've got 4 of them in various stages right now. And I'm focusing on, 2. And I actually hope to, you're all encouraging me to staple my rear end down into the chair and just focus on it instead of getting lost in ADHD Neverland and procrastination land. And thanks.
I'm pretty fortunate that my bread is not buttered only by writing. So when I don't feel like it, I don't do it. And I go do something else. I do what I feel like.
I want to add that I used to coach writers, and many of them have block. And one of the things, talking about more practical things, like I really appreciated the underline thing. That's really great advice. When people get to that stopping point in a long form, where they're at 30,000 words or 60,000 words, and like, I don't know what's going to happen next, I've always suggested that you do a reverse outline of everything you just did, so that and keep notes of the details in there, of the characters, of the setting, all the things. I mean, really get analytical, because one thing that is true, I swear it's true, everything that you've written in that draft, the answer that you can't come up with is in that. It's in everything you've already written. So just go back and do that reverse outline. You're gonna find it. You're gonna find that little nugget.
Great. Well, it sounds like if you need to have ADHD to be a writer. That's kind of what I'm hearing.
Superpower.
It's a superpower, yeah. So in all the different writings you guys have done, is there, in any of your stories, is there something that's paranormal related that inspired the book? I think of you.
It started my entire writing career. Didn't it?
Yes.
Well, no, I was a marketing writer before, so I've always been a writer, but yeah.
So Karen's got quite a cool one with Wellington, but is there something in your life, a paranormal experience that inspired a story that you've written?
Okay. Yeah. So I actually, one of my short stories I have in a book called Out of Time is my retelling of a paranormal encounter I had with a shadow figure when I was maybe about 8 or 10. And then the subsequent of me moving out of that house, and like in high school, one of my friends was actually living there and was seeing the same thing. And so I've turned that into a short story, and it's kind of, the shadow figures have floated in and out of my various horror stories, so it's definitely stuck there.
It was really interesting. Earlier we were talking, the panel was talking about, instances where they've had premonitions or whatever, because I have a really active dream life, and I have a lot of prescient dreams. And at age 13, the biggest one that I could give you an example of, but there are many, is that I saw Jonestown as it happened in that dream that night, and woke up and saw it on the front page of the Portland Oregonian. And I smelled it, I could hear it, I could see it. It's as vivid to me now as it was however many years ago. So couldn't tell anybody about that, because I wasn't in that kind of a family situation. And so I've been trying to tell that story for a long time about what do you do with that kind of information. But just all this to say that my book that I have here and a lot of the things that I do in general come straight from my dreams. Because when I have dreams, they are fully loaded with sensory experiences. I literally do have smells. I read, I speak foreign languages and understand. So, I mean, it's very astral. I'm a dream walker. I mean, I'm out there doing stuff and then I come back and I tell those stories. And so at least half the stories in my collection are straight from dreams or they incorporate dreams. And my current novel, In Progress, also came from a dream that I had 15 years ago. And I took that initial image and now it's just evolved into this eco-feminist, magical realist novel that's kind of dark and scary. So yeah, dreams for sure. I mean, and there's so many, they just keep coming.
So I will tell the story that Pete wants me to tell, but it goes back earlier. So I've been writing very much like you since I was little. Like as soon as I could write, I was writing things. And as an adult, I recognize now that, and I always didn't have a lot of ownership of the things that I wrote. And I realize now that my writing comes through me, not from me, and I've been doing that since I was a very young child. So honestly, the paranormal experience is not a paranormal experience, it's a normal experience. As a matter of fact, I'm teaching a class about channeling tonight. So it's a normal experience that it downloads, it comes through you. And I think that probably everybody up here would agree at some point that they've written something and thought, oh, did I write that? Yeah, and there's this inspiration that comes through me. But the story Pete wants me to tell is, so I was actually working as a marketing communication specialist and had turned every job I've ever had into a writing job until somebody finally gave me one. And in 2008, do you guys remember 2008 and what happened?
Yes.
Creatives were laid off. I was a creative, I was laid off, I was looking for something to do. I've never been diagnosed with ADHD, but I have a lot of irons in the fire. And so not having a job was not having an iron in the fire, and I had to fill that vacuum. And so I started writing for a magazine called Paranormal Underground. And as part of that, I did an interview with a local paranormal group, and I asked them about their favorite paranormal story. And they told me about this place called Wellington, which is up by Stevens Pass. You know where the ski area is at Stevens Pass? You can drive down from there, and there's a place that there was a train disaster that occurred and 100 people died. It's a rails to trail now. You can't go there right now because it's probably a little snowy, but in July, if you want to go try to have paranormal experiences, it's a pretty cool place to go. And so I went up there just with my journalistic curiosity because I didn't believe in any of this shit. And I started having experiences. And so I dragged my poor husband, Jim, who also didn't believe in any of this crap. And I dragged him up there, and we were going to film a documentary up there. So we drove up there. It was 3.5 hours for our house. We drove up there every weekend, and we're filming with a group of people. Well, that fell through due to some really narcissistic people. That's not even part of it. It doesn't matter. And I was devastated, and I cried, and I felt like I'd lost my child, and all of these things, and then it became a book. And I sat down one day, and I started writing it out. And I thought I was just going to write a blog post or something.
It's Michael.
That was just the mysterious. We're getting to the good part. And 3 days later, I emerged, and my husband and 2 kids were looking at me like, dude, what's for dinner? And I had a book, and it was the first book I wrote, and I didn't know anything about the publishing industry, so I self-published it. And that led to someone finding out about me as a writer, and I've worked with 3 different publishers now and published over 30 books with 3 different publishers. So it started with this thing that I was drawn to and I was meant to do, and I dragged my poor husband, who still is following me around to these things, obviously, right? And so I dragged him up there every weekend, and my kids, and it turned into 30 books. So I've been really lucky and really blessed.
Mine's gonna have a very mundane start. I I was just a little boy, and I was a latchkey kid, so I spent a lot of time with my grandmother, who was a devout Catholic and a storyteller. She loved to tell stories orally, just whatever moved her about the Bible or about Catholic history. And even as a little boy, I was not buying into any of it. I was just there for the story. But there was, some nice paranormal or supernatural aspects to these stories that just kind of hooked me, even at a young age. And what really got me is I sat down and without anything else to do for that night was starting to write down a bit of a story. And I went to go and tell it to her. And I'm like 5 years old is what I'm getting at here. And I'm offering this to her. And it's just this little scribble about, I don't even know what it was, but it was about something to do with what she had been talking about earlier. And I was scared out of my mind because I thought she was going to read this and she was going to think that I was talking down about it or that I was dismissing it out of hand. She read that and she goes, "Oh, what's next?"
Oh, perfect.
And she kept doing that, what's next, what's next, what's next, until I had an entire story written. And she read it beginning to end, and she goes, "This is really good, keep doing it."
Aw,
And I just never stopped.
you had a good grandma.
I did. And then I like ghosts.
Yeah.
Actually, Karen's journey,
Involved William.
yeah,
Don't forget William.
it's that location, the first time I went there, and I think the first time I actually met you in person,
That was the first time we'd ever met.
yeah, and Jim as well, was at Wellington, which it was her book and my experiences there, and Karen and Jamie and other people who confirmed what I was picking up, and her book confirming that helped me determine that, yeah, I can go ahead and become professional now after 40 years of working on this stuff or something like that. So you were a turning point for you, but also for me, so
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
As far as my own writing goes, when I sit back and think as everybody else is talking, and I think I was in 8th grade and I wrote a paper on parapsychology and for an English class, and my English teacher told me you should be I can't remember what kind of a writer she said, but she said you're really good at taking the technical and making it approachable.
Yeah.
And I've worked with, translating legalese for nonprofits and stuff at different times too. But so there was a piece of the paranormal with that. But it's just what I like to write about is the intersection between history and metaphysics. And so it's just a part of everything I do.
I already have one.
Yeah.
We know. We're aware.
So the very first thing that I ever wrote that had anything to do with the paranormal, a guy named Robert Murdoch asked me to write a 1,500-word review of a piece of equipment called the Paracorder 666. So I learned a lot out of putting that thing through the paces, but what I really learned is how you can stretch out 3 words, piece of crap, 1,500 words.
That's a skill.
That's called marketing.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's marketing. I'd like to open it up for audience questions. Anybody out there have a question for the authors? Yeah.
I'm good. So, you mentioned AI earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you guys plan? Are you guys gonna use that as a tool? Are you gonna avoid it completely?
So I can give you, nobody started. Start this.
So I have a twofold answer because nothing is ever simple with me. Ask Jim, poor guy. 22 years, and he's never gotten a straight answer. Raised our kids, they didn't get a straight answer. It is what it is. So I work in the publishing industry, as I mentioned, like 87, hey Karen, where do you work in the publishing industry? And so what's happened in the last couple of years with AI has really been very hard on it, where publishers, one of my publishers went out of business and was acquired by Random House Penguin. You know, it's just, a lot fewer books are coming through being published and things like that right now. The publishing industry in general is using AI in two ways. Well, it's dealing with AI in two ways. First of all, they are telling anybody who tries to write with AI and turns in something with AI that you're gonna be blacklisted. And at the same time, they are using it. They are using it to replace writers. They're using it to replace editors. They are using it, so they're telling us that we can't use it, but they're using it to replace us. I'm lucky, I have my job. And so I do, in the course of my work, use a little bit of AI, and the way I use it is if I get stuck. So I work for an internet publishing company, and we have a high volume of articles coming through. And so what I'll use it for is if I'm stuck with a catchy title, I'll ask it to help me with the title, and then I'll think that they all suck, but it'll help me to come up with one. And so there are those little things, but you'll find right now that if you want to publish a book and you're going to use AI to do it, don't do it. You will not, nobody will touch you ever again. So did that sort of answer your question? Okay, anybody else? Oh, yeah.
We have feelings.
We have feelings, okay, so AI is not just one thing, it's many things, and that's something people need to understand. What we're talking about, I think, is generative AI, creating from what we've taught the machines to think about.
Yeah.
And so I will never use generative AI because it is based on stolen copyrights. It's plagiarism from my friends and people that we all admire as authors. Whose work was taken and fed into a machine without their permission, and that is just patently wrong and immoral. Because human beings are creative souls, and you're basically taking pieces of people's souls and feeding a machine and using it without their permission. That's horrible. However, I have neurological conditions. You can even hear it in my voice. I have MS. And I use voice to text. I sometimes will have aphasia and I can't read, and so I can use AI to help read my email or my texts for me because I can't read. I literally cannot read. I can see, but I can't read because I have problems in my brain. So yeah, there are parts of AI that are absolutely necessary for people who have disabilities. I'm going to just put that out there. So when we say all AI and we're all bad, we want to ban all of it, we don't want to ban that because you're shutting out, millions of people who have needs. But when it comes to generative AI, absolutely not. It's just, I would not want to anyone to stab me in the back or steal my work, which my work has been stolen. I don't want it scraped, and I wouldn't want to do that to anybody else.
I echo everything that you guys have said. The difference between generative and transformative AI. The transformative AI is a little bit easier to be palatable because it's taking what you've already created and running it through a filter.
It's spinning. It's just a new form of word spinning.
Yeah. But I wanted to throw it on a little bit because we also do graphic design. And that goes hand in hand with all that. So we're also now AI on the graphic design as well, trying to source everything that we can from an artist that we can cite, that we can work with, or make it ourselves. And I really got Carter back there, of course, made all of our graphic stuff and is just amazing at it. But that's I think the key of it is it needs to be organic, and no AI, no matter how sophisticated it's going to be, is going to 100% nail the organic part of it, including going off on a tangent, including
hallucinating.
And just having it. Nothing can replicate you and the work that you do. And it's one thing to use it to assist you, to get you to the next level. It's another to have it to transform the voice of what you're trying to, the character or the situation is not quite gelling for you, and getting it to be transformed, or using it to assist you, literally assist you. Those are all great. But you'll find that anything that you're using for generative to come up with the idea on its own, you'll find it copy and
They're
pasted.
very bad.
You'll find it,
Yeah.
you'll find it hacked together. And I guess thankfully, a lot of these AI models are now coming up with resolutions to embed in them watermarks or other key things that allow other AIs to recognize that it's generated by
Yeah.
AI. So it also is becoming a bit of a trap anyway.
Slippery slope. I do have one more thing I wanted to add before it's kind of.
Also, if you guys want to see what, how badly AI generative hallucinates, go on to ChatGPT and ask it to write your bio.
Oh, yeah.
Seriously. Oh my God. I have written books I've never heard of.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's insane.
You might be dead.
I am,
I've been-
not currently, but you are apparently, so there's a, ladies and gentlemen, there's a ghost on the stage with us.
Yes, I would like to add something. Since I don't write for a living, I do it for my own benefit and joy. And number one, I'm my best reader and best fan. No, I would never use AI because this is my creative outlet.
Yeah.
To me, it's just like cooking. I cook pretty well. I think you could attest to that. Yeah. Okay. And what's that? Yeah, I made some cookies. Oh, sorry, they're tots. But no, I would never use it because this is my creative outlet and I'm too selfish.
It's more fulfilling.
I think that that's not selfish, I think that's just good for you. Yeah, that's not selfish.
Great question though.
You know why you can't trust AI? Because just like Abraham Lincoln said, you can't trust everything you read on the internet.
There you go. Jim Frazier, everyone.
You're not singing happy birthday.
It's his birthday tomorrow,
No, it's
61.
not.
Or Monday.
Well, happy birthday to Jim. Let's say happy birthday to Jim. All right, we got more birthdays too, which I'm gonna embarrass people tomorrow as well. Well, as kind of a follow-up to that was a great question. I was hoping we'd get into the AI part of it. And I hope this isn't a stumper, but as you guys are talking about it, I'm thinking about, what's the future hold, right? We don't quite know where this is all gonna go. So how, other than buying your books, which everyone should do, how can people support the writing industry? You know what I mean? Like, other than just buying books, is there,
I thought about that.
what are some, Karen, go take it away.
No, we can start down here, we don't have to start with that.
First off, if you really like a book or an author, suggest it to your library. Libraries buy books. They buy audiobooks, they buy magazines, they will stock it. Usually, it's just a link on their website. You can also just go in and talk to them in person. That's kind of like the easiest way because you're getting an author into a whole new set of eyes that maybe wouldn't have come across it. Also, if you're on social media and you follow an author that you enjoy their work, share it, leave reviews, comment, let them know that they have readers out there that care. And every time you share something, it then goes, to all the people that you follow that maybe don't know anything about that author. So those are free, simple, pretty quick.
Good ones.
Yeah, those are good ones, libraries especially. We have to really
Michael.
support our libraries, but not only our libraries, but we need to support, this is the United States. We are supposed to have free speech, and it's getting challenged all the time. One of the ways that we can support writers and support publishing and free speech is to support small press. We need to support small local booksellers because they are really the people that are holding, giving local authors a place. Because if you're a smaller voice, you're not a New York Times bestseller, which is bullshit, by the way. You guys do know people pay to get on that list. If you don't know that, you should know that. That's just a sticker and a lot of money. That's all that is. That doesn't mean that that book is any better than some other writer who's not famous.
How much money?
A lot, it depends on, it's a lot, it's a lot.
1,500 books.
Oh,
1,500 books.
yeah. So, go to your local booksellers, the independent ones, not the chains, the independent ones, and ask for your neighbors and your friends' books, whoever you know who's writing books. Have them stock them. And then support those local presses. My books come through very small presses, and they are also the best people to work with ever as a writer. I would never, I will never turn down a publishing offer, but I'm always going to favor the small press.
So I guess so I agree with what you guys said. So again, because I work on the internet, one of the things that you can do to support writers in general and to help writers get their jobs back, you know how when you Google something now, you get the box at the top that's generated by AI, and a lot of people stop at that box? That has put thousands of writers and thousands of editors out of work, and it's Google stealing people's, oh my God, I'm sorry Google, I love you. Google's coming after me after I say this in public probably, because we love our Google overlords. But so don't stop at that box. As a matter of fact, skip that box. That is Google stealing people's work and giving it as their own, and it's taking advertising dollars and clicks and traffic away from actual people who are writing things, and it's creating idiocracy. We're all going to be wearing Crocs and acting like we're in the movie and watering our plants with energy drinks pretty soon. Because it's stealing bad information, and pretty soon all that's going to be there is bad information, because all of these publishers are going out of business and firing people and having AI write their stuff for them, which generates the bad information. Do I need to keep going? I have feelings about this, obviously. So support people by actually clicking through to real websites and not trusting Google's answer. Google's answers are often untrue or not the whole story. So when you Google something, follow the links.
Preach. Yes.
See, not just psychics talk a lot.
Yeah. Writers have things to say.
I'm also a psychic, so there you go.
I think the thing that we're coming to here is that marketing, mass crowdsourced marketing, is the number one way you can help your local author stay in the business. It's the most expensive part of doing anything as a small business, is getting it out there in front of somebody else. Whether it's advertising dollars or the social media, which feels like you have to do something every day or 4 times a day, and you just, if you're doing a small business, chances are you also have another business that you're doing, and you just don't have time for that. So every one of you that goes out there and helps us do that makes that infinitely easier.
Yes.
And the other part of it is, because you were asking about what's the future of that? Well, the future is returning writing to its roots of being a community effort. Again, I was talking about the author and the reader's relationship. It's always ever been that way, but with so many good authors out there and so many good stories, like I'm looking at your horror table over there, and I'm like, oh man, I would love to read everything that's on there, and I probably never will, unfortunately, because there's so many. But it doesn't stop me from liking it, wanting it, buying it, interacting with it, and sharing it when I do get to, or interacting with other people that have done that. And so that's the other aspect of it, is just community, maintain the community.
Good answer.
I really appreciate everybody's answers. I agree with them 100%. I'm going to add a little different perspective, because I'm not as prolific as the rest of the people have been. I'm not sure I could completely call myself a professional. I've got two published books. Both of them were self-published to begin with. The second one then did get published by an author, small press. The problem with the small press is they don't use the clearinghouses that any of the bookstores use. So even the independent bookstores won't buy them. They don't even, at least in my town, they don't even, not even Powell's will look at one that I could provide for them, and so that's a bit of an issue. And online, the royalties from selling online are pretty small. So I'm not sure how to fix that, but that's one of the areas. Buy from people, buy from authors when you see them at events like this. The profit margin's higher. I'm sorry if I'm blowing anybody's cover, but oh well. But it helps, you know. We can get a discounted price and then we can sell it for close to retail, maybe a little less, and do better than what we do from our publishers themselves. And if you've got media exposure, podcasts, whatever, interview some of the authors. Or you find somebody you like, have them on your show.
Can I jump in on that real quick? So on the note that you're making about being internationally published or just getting out there in the clearinghouses, there is a way to do that for an indie author. We are currently doing that. It is novelized though. There's only 2 avenues that you could take to do it. But it does boil down to the same thing that we were touching on before. You can have that avenue open. We have it open. You still won't find us at Barnes & Noble except on their website because there's nobody going in there asking for it. There's nobody going in there saying, I want this author's book on my shelves. So just like where we started off, like you can go to your local library, you can go to your local book house and say, I get these authors in here. Okay.
Can I piggyback on that?
Oh, jeez.
There's so much to say about this, you guys. We'll get you. The other thing too is there's very limited access. I'm gonna lose my thread, but a couple of things. There's also the biggest store in the world, or whatever they're supposed to be called, the Big A. We know who the Big A is, right? This is going to your question of what the future is, because literally in the last couple of weeks, writers everywhere, if you're in social media and you follow writers, they are trying to find ways to get their books off of Big A. Because Big A is ruining a lot of careers. And so we don't have a lot of options outside of that. But we're gonna create them because we are tired of publishing books through them and then not getting any money for them. Because that is the reality. We might sell a ton of books online and never see tiny, tiny little pennies. And we don't put our lives into these books for that reason. We want people to read our books, but come on, it's real work, you know. And then you were just talking about something, and I had another thought too. What was it?
It'll come back to you.
It'll come back to
2:00
me.
in the morning. Yeah, so I wanna know, just while we're up here, what is the lowest royalty check that everybody's gotten? Mine was 8 cents.
Oh, 1 penny.
Oh!
1 penny.
Wow,
And that was when I was
yeah.
working in Hollywood.
Oh my God, yeah.
You can always support me by going to my OnlyFans site.
I want to see your feet.
Well, it was only a matter of time. Thank you guys. Hey, we're out of time. It's fascinating. We could probably keep going and going. They aren't the only authors that are here, so be sure to check everybody out that's here. Get some books, get some reading material to take with you, especially coming up on winter time when we're going to be indoors, snuggled up, you know, for a lot more time. What's that?
Holiday.
Oh, holiday gifts. Yes, exactly. Yes, great place for that. Let's give these authors a round of applause for coming up and sharing what they did. Thank you guys. Awesome. So we've got a speaker coming up here right now. Jackie Campbell. I'm kicking you guys off the stage, but thank you so much. Really